Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. Today I want to talk about the most important lesson I've learned from minimalism, and that is really that's something I learned during the past few years, and it has changed my life and it's continuing to change my life, and I really hope I can find words to properly explain what I mean, so it might benefit you as well and make it possible for you to make your life a little bit better too. I think most of us use minimalism to improve their life in some way. I would say for myself, I use minimalism to get closer to the life that I want to live, to make it possible to live a life that is aligned with my values, and to just get rid of all the excess things, no matter if they're like physical or if they're other things that weigh me down, that keep me back, that are unnecessary, that are adding a burden to my life. To make any real progress on that journey towards a life that we love, towards a life without the unnecessary things, we kind of need to know where we're going. Now, I'm absolutely aware that most of us do not have a 100% clear vision of where they want their life to be after decluttering, whenever they are a perfect minimalist, and I don't think that really exists, but I think it's helpful if we have some sort of like a vision, some sort of maybe at least knowing what we don't want, knowing that we have some things that we want to declutter. And I think the most important tool and the most helpful tool on that whole journey is actually honesty. And here I especially mean being honest towards ourselves. Because if we want to declutter our lives, if we want to live the life we dream of, if we want to get rid of things that don't serve us, then we really need to be honest with ourselves to figure out what these actually are. But just saying just be honest with yourself and then minimalism is gonna be easy is not gonna help, I think. And the good thing is that I think minimalism helps with honesty as much as honesty helps with minimalism. Because when we start decluttering our things, we really practice being honest with ourselves. We practice it because if we decide to declutter a piece of furniture, a piece of clothing, something for our kitchen, we will realize if that was a good decision a bit later. We will see if we missed that thing, if we need to buy it again. We will also see if we keep something because we're absolutely sure that we need it and we still don't use it for another year. We see that there we kind of lied to ourselves, we kind of weren't completely honest, or we just didn't know enough about ourselves, and we can make better decisions in the future. And so I think decluttering our lives, which is I think most of the time the first step into minimalism, can really help us become more and more honest with ourselves. I think honesty is essential for minimalism because as long as we're lying to ourselves, we're making it harder. We are making the wrong decisions. We are telling ourselves that we need things we don't need. We declutter stuff that we still need. And it's just making the whole journey longer, and it prevents results from being really good. And being honest is definitely also not easy all the time. It can be really hard to admit that we made mistakes in the past, that we changed, and that we do not want to go for the same goals that we set out to reach a few years ago and we maybe put a lot of work into. But I think it's absolutely worth it because it's kind of the only way to actually live the life we dream of. But I think honesty goes far beyond decluttering when it comes to minimalism or just living a very intentional life. Let me share an example out of my life. Trying to be a minimalist, I decluttered more and more and more, and I think that makes sense. We declutter stuff that's not meaningful to us. We do not buy things that we think we don't need. There are sometimes situations where less things do not equal more happiness or being the most practical solution. So here's the thing. As a content creator, this is my job, and it of course makes sense that I spend a lot of time on my phone. I use it in my free time for pleasure to look at different photos and people, what they're doing on social media. I use it to research for videos I'm doing. I use it to communicate with you, to post things, to answer comments and things like that. But I also use it just without a reason. And one situation especially is that oftentimes I want to know what time it is. I take my phone and 10 minutes later I turn it off and I think well, I still don't know what time it is. And so I decided that even though I am a minimalist and I'm striving to not have unnecessary stuff, I am gonna have a watch again. To just be able to like check the time without losing time and not checking the time in the end. And this is also where I want to introduce Nordgreen, today's sponsor, to you. Nordgreen is a Scandinavian watch brand, and they really try to put together this Scandinavian minimalist beautiful design with high quality and sustainable and ethical production of their watches. Products like watches with like a lot of different materials and manufacturing steps are maybe difficult when it comes to sustainability, but Nordgreen, as you can see on their website, is trying to be sustainable and ethical from many different angles. For example, you can donate some money with every order that is made to a charity, and you can choose between education, drinking water, or preserving some rainforest. And they also make sure that their packaging is made from recycled plastic and recycled cardboard. They ensure that the working conditions in their factories have like the Danish standard, even if they're somewhere else on the planet. And they also offer refurbished watches, for example. So you can buy a product that is not completely new, but that is just like checked and resold after somebody else had it before. The watch that I have is also a refurbished one. It's the Infinity in like 32 millimeter with rose gold mesh strap, and also like the watch itself is rose gold as well. And I just love its simplicity in design. It's just very simple. All I need, the time I can see, and the quality is really good, I think. And actually, even though it is refurbished, it looks absolutely perfect. No marks, no scratches, nothing. And it works fine. Like I've been wearing it for a few days at least now, like 24 hours, and it works. I like it. I think it's beautiful. And if you are maybe also looking for a watch, maybe you have a similar problem as me and spending too much time on your phone, if sometimes you just need to know the time, then Nordgreen has a code for you, for my audience, and it's ecofriend, and with ecofriend you can get 15% off your order. Another thing you can do is get an additional like free strap, but I don't think you can combine these two. But anyways, I'm going to leave the link and the code down below in the description, so be sure to go check out Nordgreen and see their other beautiful designs, or maybe you also just like this one a lot and want to get a watch in this design. But getting a watch again after, it's been 10 years since I had a watch, but like getting a watch again after 6 years of minimalism, after 10 years of not having a watch, might seem counterintuitive if we talk about minimalism, because minimalism is associated with having less stuff and less stuff making us more happy. Yes, usually if we get rid of stuff we don't need, that makes us happier, that makes us feel lighter, that makes life easier, less complicated. So I think it does make sense to reassess our belongings, how we feel and how we live our life every now and then. And one thing is, have we decluttered the right things? Do we really use the things we still have? So can we get rid of more things we thought we need to keep? Or do we have things we decluttered but we need again, so we need to invite into our life again, as maybe the watch? And the other thing is, how do we spend our time? How do we spend our money? How do we spend our energy, our efforts, our thoughts? And there, I think it's especially important to not put the stuff above these things. Because spending an hour a day on my phone because I wanted to check the time several times, I think is taking away more from me than adding a watch to my life. And that is just one example, and I think it goes for many, many things. We need to balance the stuff we have and what it can give us versus what it takes from us. And also, our time, our money, our energy. So yes, I completely agree with all the minimalists that say, please don't buy expensive stuff that won't make you happy, because we're sometimes made believe that we should buy these expensive fancy things and that they would make us happy. But I do want to say there are a lot of things that do make sense to have. And you have to decide that for yourself. You have to be really honest with yourself and assess your life and see what you need for your life. But sometimes adding something to your life, even if it's one thing more, and that's maybe the most visual thing, it still will be less in another way, in a way that you have less stress and that you need less time to do something, that you need to put less energy into a certain task you don't like. I actually made a whole video about things that I thought I could live without, but realized I'd rather have in my life. And I'm going to link it up here for you. Maybe that's interesting, because I think that's a really important point, that we stop looking at minimalism just in the sense of having less things, but in a sense of simplifying our life and getting rid of excess stressors and energy hungry things in general, and not just physical items. Also, one that is really, really important, I think, is, am I happy with like the minimalist lifestyle I'm living? If you consider yourself to be a minimalist, how much of that am I doing to fit the perfect image of being a minimalist? And how much of that am I doing because I truly feel and think that it makes my life better? Like, how much am I doing for the label and how much am I doing for myself? Ideally, you would say I'm doing all of it for myself, but it just happens to fit the label of being a minimalist. I think the thing I learned through my minimalist journey, my minimalist lifestyle, is being honest with myself. And being honest with myself also results in me living a minimalist lifestyle. And it results in just me having this tool to overall live a more fulfilled life. And the honesty is the thing that I think I'm going to pay more attention to moving forward, rather than the minimalist label and trying to have less things, because that is the tool that makes it possible to really declutter your life in a way that makes sense, in a way that does move you forward into the direction you want to go. And while the decluttering journey itself of the physical items that's most likely associated with minimalism does maybe end at a certain point, or not completely, but it won't take up that huge part of your life anymore. I think honesty and making honest decisions will continue to be a part in everybody's everyday life and in the rest of our life actually. And something that I'm actually learning myself currently, like during the past few months and also in the future, is maybe if you're very rational, you can get down to a lower number of items in your belongings, like that you own. Maybe if you base your decisions more on your feelings, it may seem like you act very impulsively. But the balance is, I think, where you can find real fulfillment over the course of time. Using that mixture, using all of these resources and this tool of being really, really honest with ourselves, I think has a great potential to just overall move into a direction that you want to move into, and also live a life that makes you happy. And I'm sure most of us also want to live a life that benefits the people around us and the planet as well. And I think when trying to be really honest, as hard as it might be and as much practice as it might take to get there, is going to be a really, really good resource for that. With that said, I just hope you have a great experience with minimalism or living intentionally. I do hope you can be honest with yourself or learn to lie to yourself a little less, because that's something I think most of us do, or we are also encouraged to do sometimes from society. And I wanted to remind you to check out Nordgreen if you are in need of a watch or know a friend that might need one, maybe also get one as a gift. And now I actually do want to link you a video here that talks about lying to ourselves. It's similar, but it just talks about a different aspect of this whole topic. So I'm sure you will find it interesting if you liked this video, and I hope to see you over there. Bye!